Let's create a pivotal impact. Friends in the industry. So I'm Josh Hannaberry, your host of the Truck Focus podcast. And the mission here at the podcast is actually quite simple. We're connecting transportation industry leaders to the industry to help create a pivotal change. So back in October of last year, British Columbia here in Canada, we integrated something called mandatory entry-level training, also known as MELT. And MELT goes into different requirements that you have to be trained on in order to obtain your Class 1 successfully. So I had the privilege of having a great conversation with Angela, a driver trainer at Cariboo Driver Training a little bit ago, back in episode 69. And one of our goals of the interview after it went live was to have her come back with a student that recently went through MELT to talk about that experience. So today I'm super excited as Angela comes back to the podcast with a gal named Monica, who just recently graduated with MELT or through the MELT training program. During their conversation, we dive into Monica's experience, her thoughts and key takeaways that she learned through the whole MELT process that she also thinks other students need to know, as well as perspectives that Angela now has further into training MELT. So a key takeaway for myself is honestly the importance of the relationship and communication when in the training environment. So if this is the first time you've ever checked out a Truck Focus podcast, I really do welcome you to our community and to our dedicated listeners. I just want to continue to say thank you so much for your investment of time. Really do appreciate it. I ask that you like this episode, share it out because there's so much good information in here. I look forward to the impact our conversation is going to have. Let's get to it. One. Angela, Monica, super excited for today's conversation on obviously the Truck Focus podcast for a couple of things. First off, MELT, so mandatory entry-level training, obviously has been in British Columbia for a little bit of time now. And I'm really excited to celebrate, Angela, your journey as a driver trainer, as well as Monica, you just recently successfully accomplished or achieved the goal of passing MELT, and just so much to dissect here. And I'm just super honored that you guys are taking the time on a Thursday night to hop on the podcast. So both welcome to the Truck Focus podcast.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Perfect. Don't be shy. No, I'm just kidding. So, okay, Monica, I'm going to throw you to the questions first. So why don't you kind of give us a recap, or not a recap, sorry, but a highlight of who you are and where you're from, all that good stuff.
I'm Monica Sellers. I am born and raised from Williams Lake. I've been a certified farrier for the last 15 years. I am looking to expand into something else. So Cariboo Driver Training was a good option for me. So yeah.
Very cool. Sorry, so you were a farrier. Is that, can you highlight, like, give it, what is that? I've never heard that term before.
I put shoes on horses for a living. Okay. I'm actually, I've been, like I said, I've been doing it for about 15 years now. It's getting a little hard on me now. I used to do about 300 horses every 6 weeks. So I'm just trying to cut back and get into something a little different for a while.
Wow. Okay. Crazy. Okay, it all makes sense now because Angela said you did something along those sorts. Like I think it was on the weekend still or something, and I'm like, what?
So. Yeah. I was lucky to be able to work my personal work schedule around Caribou Driver Training, and they were quite flexible for me as well to try to accommodate to my schedule. So it worked out really well for the weeks of training here. So.
Good. Well, good. It's great to have you here. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. And so Angela, I have to say welcome back to the podcast. So a little backstory for those listening, check out episode 69 where Angela did join before. It's a great conversation and something I really admire and I continue to see, which I think is really cool. So Angela is an advocate for two things, for professional drivers, but also women in industry. And the fact that you're living your truth, I think is really cool. So I'm jacked that we could do this again. So welcome back.
Thank you.
So no problem. So aside from, I know our listeners are going to hit pause for a second, go check out the other episodes and come back. Give us a quick rundown of just your journey over the last couple of months.
Well, last time I talked to you, I was just starting into training. And I had my first set of MELT students before Christmas because it just got implemented October 18th this last year. So I had the good pleasure of training some students on the old system and getting to see a little bit of that and seeing what happened with road testing scores and whatnot after they've been through the melt training. Road test was a lot breezier for the students. 100% they had way more tools in the toolbox going into their tests. Mind you, the road test never changed. So they are going through a lot more testing here with us. So since last time we talked, it's just been continued learning. Like I don't stop learning. I'm always reading and squirreling. The minute I open up the computer, I'm like, oh, I got scheduling to do. Oh, I should look at this on National Safety Code. Oh, and through you also, I've made some really good connections. I have to mention Trevor Nelton. I've forwarded his info to Monica so that when she gets going with her next things, she can hopefully make use of him.
Good. Yeah, Trevor's a great guy.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. And the support that I've had coming into the next set here has been crazy. And the thing that shocks me the most is how we're still scheduling people. We're scheduling right through September now.
Wow, good job.
Oh,
wow. Crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Then that was going to be one of my questions from, well, we could have went bird's eye view of melt, but since you were at the school prior to melt, do you see more students now? Like, I guess melt has been here for, I guess we're in month 6. So are you starting to see it just, okay, it's the new normal. We're going to just still rock and roll. So you guys have really seen an uptick, or how has that been?
Yeah, Adam's seen an increase. Plus, you actually get like 6 to 8 weeks depending on scheduling. So with Monica, it was more 8 weeks because we stretched out. We had Wednesdays off and we had scheduling different. She was working through it. She's like a bit of a rock star and a workaholic. So I'm like, you know what, girl, you got to go work. You got to do this. We just moved because it was just her and I together, which I really, really liked. Nice. It was just her. I had her one-on-one, which was awesome because there is some different hurdles with females in trucking. You don't have man strength. You have to make adjustments. You have to make changes ergonomically. It doesn't mean she can't do it. You have to work smarter, not harder, right? So we have a really, really funny video. With her permission, I'll send it, of her doing cargo securement. And actually, like, her on the end of a snake bar is actually quite entertaining.
I got to use all of the weight, all of it. I don't have much of it to use.
and after we did it, I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea. I'd foreseen her doing like the Mighty Mouse, like over the trailer off the end of the bar. Cause I'm like, okay, we have to like this, we got to change this. This isn't gonna work. Because I'm a big girl, like I'm a way bigger human than her. Like I'm 200 pounds. So when I push on something, things move, man. Like, so for me, it was a learning curve too, because even the clutch pedal in the truck, when she'd get tired, would push her up out of the seat. And I'm like, I've never dealt with that before.
Yeah, so, yeah, when I get tired, the clutch takes more pressure to push down than I physically weigh. And then when I go to release the clutch pedal and the air seat comes up, it all like kind of does it all at the same time. And I just kind of dump the clutch off and we're going a little quicker in that direction than we thought we were going to.
Yeah,
that would be so funny to watch that. Oh my goodness.
Oh, we had a lot of laughs, I'll tell you. There was a couple times her and I got giggling pretty hard about stuff, but you know, it was nice to be able to be there for her, because I had one lady in my life that was there for me supportive wise, but not on the training level. It was all men. So it was like, here's tire chains. I'm man. You throw it with one arm.
Yeah, the top of the tire is almost shoulder level for me, so that doesn't work. You got to go one side at a time. You got to like work your way up. Yeah, we definitely had to figure out some different ways to deal with me being 5'1" and 110 pounds.
Wow, you could bring a swamper with you.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you have to put tire chains on like for the road evaluation or your road test?
Not for the road test, no. But actually, the very first time I drove the truck, I high centered us up on a snowbank, so I got a chain up lesson the very first day I drove the truck.
Oh, no.
The diff locker was not working, and we just had some interaxle, and it was not going so well for us. So yeah, so I got a chain of plus in the first day, and we also had to make a speed bump too. So it worked well. We got out of there. We didn't need any help. So
Wow. And
Uh,
that's
her training was very candid. So we had to switch trucks because the engine blew out of one. And she literally worked out all the mechanical kinks with me with that blue truck. Like, not even kidding. Now that she's gone, it's running like a hot rod.
you sure learn the importance of a pre-trip inspection. That's for sure when you're working the kinks out of a new track.
yes. Oh yeah, especially if you're in your guys' neck of the woods where it's highway or you're on the or in the bush. You're
Yeah.
yikes, crazy. Wow. So from your experience, Monica, going through melt prior to going through the actual training school, have you had to undergo any type of intensive training before? Maybe not even vehicle specific, but with horses or just anything else, or was that your first time?
It's when I did my farrier school back in 2008, I guess it was fairly intensive training as well. Just shoeing horses itself is quite intensive. So I think on that side of it, I was prepared for the 8 weeks of the work that it took to put in. But overall, it was, it's definitely, you got to commit and some determination in there. So yeah.
Good. So from your experience in hindsight, and I'm glad we're doing this after, so I can again congratulate you for passing and kicking its ass and good stuff. What was the overall experience for you going through pre-trip inspections, cargo securement, obviously chains, which is my least favorite topic in trucking, to this, yeah, the whole shebang? How was that experience for you?
It was definitely different. I'm happy I drive a standard pickup every day of my life already. So I already had my, lots of truck experience. I back into everything everywhere I go. I haul a big horse trailer everywhere I go. So that helped me on that aspect of it. But at the same time, Cariboo Driver Training's program is very thorough, and it was just it made it extremely easy the way the program was set up, that as long as you're determined in what you're doing, it shouldn't be an issue to get your license. Like I said, I'm 5'1", 110 pounds. If I can do it, it just shows hard work and determination will get you there. So the melt program was really thorough, and really I couldn't imagine trying to do my class 1 with any less of training. So
That was
I'm
going to be a question. Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like, so what was the total time then that you were in training?
I think it was total of 140 hours.
She was about 149. By the time I did her, we did a little bit more flex time and some longer drives, but yeah, that's just about right on the money.
Yeah, we drove a lot, like a lot. It was good. We did like lots of like loser laps around town, and we drove to Quesnel, and we drove down to 100 Mile a few times, and just it was just a great overall experience. Really, now that it's kind of over, I'm kind of missing driving around drinking coffee with Angela all day.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, so were you guys friends prior? Or you just built this sistershiphood, is that a word,
Yeah,
sisterhood,
yeah.
throughout the experience?
We hadn't met before, but yeah, definitely we easily clicked the first. Actually, we hadn't even technically met. I called her on the phone and talked to her on the phone about Caribou Driver Training, and we instantly got along right off of there. So I knew the moment I walked into the door, we were going to be pretty good friends, and yeah, it's definitely turned into that over the last 8 weeks. So
Good for you.
Yeah, she's stuck with me now.
Good. Well, I was gonna say that it might be one-sided. Angela might be like, "Good, you're done." Oh my goodness, but no. And I think that's something that, again, I speak on various topics within transportation quite frequently, and I think the relationship side, where you can bond over something like tire chains on first day, and that's going to be with you for the next 40 years. You're
Yeah.
still connected or not, hopefully you are, because you obviously live in the same place. But 40 years from now, you're still going to reminisce. Man, I remember that. Someone's going to bring up something that's going to remember or spark that memory. And you're like, man, that was a hell of a ride. That was fun. And so anyway, I like this part of the conversations, because then I get to showcase the good opportunities in our industry. So that's cool. Hey, Josh here. Just a quick interruption from our conversation. So, really want to give a huge shout out to Cariboo Driver Training for the great work that they're doing in the Williams Lake, BC area. So, you can learn more about them by visiting cariboodrivertraining.com. I've included the link in the show notes. Okay, well, let's get back to the episode. Yeah. So, I guess then, if you're thinking about well, I think there's a lot of important things that you learned along the way, but what would you say was the most important, if we're talking behind the wheel or pre-trip inspection or cargo securement, and you're not getting hit in your face with a jawbreaker, what would be the most important thing that you were taught first from Angela, but then also just through your experience? Was it, yeah, it could be anything. What would you say?
Like I said, really just the importance of a pre-trip inspection, like to have that truck come in that they didn't really know because their other truck was down. So we basically had to figure it out as we went. And I feel that was the best way to go, because every day we found something. And, like it really pushes the importance of it. And, even just mid-trip inspections where we would find stuff, or, a post-trip inspection when we were done, I really find that was probably a really big, important part to really, it's not only your own safety, but it's everybody else's safety on the road as well.
Totally. You're speaking like a true pro. I like it. That's awesome. Then, okay, Angela, what would you say was Monica's greatest victory through training?
When she quit grinding gears. She used to do this. This was my favorite. She'd look over at me. She goes, "Is it in gear?"
It didn't make the grinding noise.
Just laugh and laugh. I was like, wow. Like, actually, when she figured it out, it was just done. It was like there was no more. And then on the days when she would like get tired and she'd start grinding gears, you could just see the like, okay, I'm so done with this for the day. Like, I'm just, no. And you know what? As a truck driver, you go through the same crap. Like, you get to the end of a long day and you're like, your shifting goes out the window and you're like, okay, I'm not backing anything up. This is just getting parked like this. To kind of touch on a lot of the things that she learned, and I know we didn't talk about this a lot in our first one, Josh, but she had to do pre-trips every day. Well, we did pre-trips. Some days we worked more in the yard on coupling and coupling. She had to do a lot of backing up maneuvers. I had her in public areas doing backing up, which was really good because now you have to be really aware of your surroundings. We're all driving, so anything under 80 kilometers an hour, highway driving. We had to do trailer axle slides and fifth wheel slides, and we almost tore the drive shaft out of the truck that day.
You loosened up some U-joints anyway.
There goes a $2,300 interaxle drive shaft, but that was Adam's fault. And because Adam was like, "This is gonna move," and I'm like, "You bet it is."
No, it's probably not.
Just standing there going, "This is not like the best lesson we've ever done. Like, this is gonna be the worst." And I'm like, "I hate this. I don't want to do this." I was at that point where you are with tire chains, Josh. I'm like, this is my least favorite task. Sliding the fifth wheel and trailer axle sliding. That's the part of the program I'm not loving, but I'll figure it out.
Well, the axle slide did go very well. It was the fifth wheel slide that did not.
The locks went out and they wouldn't go back in. So then we couldn't drive the truck. And I'm like, "Adam, hit it harder." And he's like, no. Yeah. So I don't know. That chaining up, just like on-road maneuvers, like really when a student first starts driving, they don't realize, and Monica and I'm sure can attest to this, is you're not just paying attention to shifting. Now you're like worrying somebody's going to open a car door and a kid's going to run out, and then your observation skills, your lane blocking. We had two different trailers, and one the axles are slid forward and one the axles just slid all the way back. So, and the hitch isn't, the pin on the trailer, like the king pin on the trailer is way further forward. So it's completely different to tow. And there's just all kinds of other things. I wish, honestly, I could have had more time with her. Like, if somebody would have given me a dump truck, which is what she aspires to do, I would have taken her out and showed her how to back up with a pintle hitch, but we don't have that set up. So I mean, once I got into the group with her and we were having fun, I actually didn't want her to leave. On her road test day, I was like, I'm gonna cry. Yeah. So it was an experience teaching her, because the first set of students we had were all males and they were all bigger, and there was a lot of things that they did. Things just moved easier, right? Like they were able to do things physically, whereas I had to really stop and think, like, I don't want either one of us to get injured trying to do these tasks. So that was when I really started thinking about other things that actually aren't in the program, like ergonomics. Like even right down to her seat had to be slid all the way to the like very top notch for her to reach the pedals. And like something as simple as keeping your heel planted in the floor for your throttle and your brake control.
My heel doesn't touch the floor. I had to have a back cushion the whole time as well, because once I actually sat in the seat was too deep for me. So good thing I have a seat cushion for my own standard pickup, my old 7.3 that also doesn't fit me as well. So I took out my back cushion out of my pickup and I put it into the big rig. And I literally had to pack it around everywhere, every time we went anywhere, because I physically couldn't reach the pedals without it.
Those are so important to think about though, but you're right, where if it's just you're taller, okay, you don't really think about those things until you're in that environment. So that's a good point. I think that's a good point for a lot of trainers too, when part of it is just understanding your student, but part of it is also understanding the terrain. So if you're driving on washboard and you can't plant your foot to actually create some stability, like that alone is exhausting. So those are some good points, so that, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of either.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't plant my foot physically because my feet aren't big enough, and my legs aren't physically long enough. So like I basically got to air the seat all the way down, and then I can't really see over the steering wheel. So it's kind of yeah, you definitely got to just figure out a way around it.
All I could think about when you said that was I think it was an Austin Powers thing where he's wearing those really tall shoes.
That's what I need. I need some platform shoes with some
goldfish
swimming around in them.
Oh, so funny. So, okay. So this is not a sell. This is not pre-planned. There's no money exchange here, but Monica, would you recommend people that to get trained by Angela and go to Caribou?
Oh, definitely. 100%. Like I said, Angela is a blast to deal with just all together. Like I could just hang out with her all day, regardless of training. So it really helps when you really like the people that you're working with to train with, because, you're just kind of into it even more. And when it's all fun and laughs and everything all the whole time, it makes it a lot easier. Right. So.
Agreed. Yeah. No, and I'm an advocate for Angela and Cariboo Driver Training too. I try and recirculate anytime I see they share information. So I'm glad that we're aligned. Otherwise, I'd stop the interview right now and say I'm good. But no, it's good, and that's important, especially with new programs like Melt, because I think even though when people say, "Oh, this is so needed," there's a lot of people that said, why are you charging me this?" Or, "Oh, why is there so much time?" So I like staying on the positive. I like the fact that you guys can laugh about your journey, and I can tell you've learned a lot. So, because if you're not from trucking, quote unquote, and you're talking about U-bolts and drive shafts and stuff, I'm kind of like, okay, you know what you're talking about. I think that's really cool. So what's your goal now? Obviously you've accomplished something huge, and I don't know if you mentioned it first or Angela with the dump truck, but is that kind of what's next, or where are you headed?
Yeah, eventually, like I said, I'd like to purchase my own dump truck. I like seasonal work. That's kind of what my my own business is based off of. So eventually I'd like to own my own dump truck, but for right now, I just kind of get experience wherever I can, and just soak up every little bit of information from anybody I can get.
Perfect. So Angela, I know you're working with a couple of carriers now with the whole recruit process. So is that kind of in the works now too, or are you still waiting to see kind of what Monica decides to do?
She's very, very secure in what she wants to do with herself. And I really admire that about her. So if there's anything that I can do to help her, so if there's anybody that's listening to this or anybody that's on our Caribou Truckers page that is willing to help her get experience, and like she said, if you've only got a week or whatever, she's game for that. She can model her schedule around that. So that would be the best thing. We're also in breakup season here right now too. So there's not a lot of off-road stuff going on. It's more town and highway things, right? Because the road restrictions are on. So she's got some time to kind of like be like, and it's like the drivers have the eggs in the basket right now. They can really pick and choose where they want to go. And I tell them that, and I explain to them how to ask good questions and things to look for. Have a good look at the equipment, ask good questions. And if they're not willing to answer those questions, then maybe that's not somewhere you want to work.
Actually, just on saying that, before I even finished my program, I've had multiple job offers. And after she posted that I had graduated my program and I had passed my road test, I had 2 private messages and also another couple of job offers since. So it's been a whole week and a half since I've officially had my license, and I've got about 10 different trucks that I have opportunities to drive. So like she said, at this point, I'm kind of like vetting through. It's just hard that I really want to get out and get experience, but I've also got my farrier business I'm trying to go off at the same time. So I just need some part-time week here and there work so I can peter off on what I'm doing on my own.
Yes. Yes. That is an exciting position to be in. That is, I think it's a compliment to you. It's a compliment to the training. Angela's got a really good reputation, just again from the interactions I've seen. So I think that just speaks wonders. And yeah, the fact that you know what you're looking for also helps, because I've talked to enough people that don't know what they're looking for, and they think, oh, a job, okay, and they don't really consider lifestyle, wage, how long am I going to be gone, what else is a priority in my life. So I'm grateful that you're at that point, especially to our listeners, because we do have a lot of professional drivers that are listening, and it's an encouragement when others are saying, hey, I can do that too. Hey, okay. So I'm really glad that you have that ability, and it's awesome to see that many job offers. Good job. Yeah, that's really cool. So I kind of have a couple staple questions that I like to ask. So I'm really big on an intentional leadership. I'm really big on creating impacts where we go, that kind of thing. So Angela, I'll start with yourself. And I know we chatted about this last time, which I really admire. So it's interesting, actually, before I get here, when we were finished last time, my wife was just like, who are you talking to? And then I'm like, her name's Angela. And I kind of explained your backstory. She's just like, you sound like really proud right now. And I'm like, because I am, because I get really excited listening about progression. And when people care about people, that to me is like the biggest thing in life. So when my wife notices that, okay, you had a good conversation, I think that's really cool, because it speaks wonders about the person. So Angela, I'll ask you this question now is, if it's working with Monica in the training environment, you're interacting in the group, are you very mindful about the impact that you're having with those that you're basically training at all times?
Oh, 100%. I don't want them to leave the end of the day and go have bad feelings from me. So if they're struggling, I tell them, like, please talk to me. Or if they're having a tough time, they're frustrated, or they get emotional, it happens. But I kind of have those conversations with them at the beginning, like, this is going to happen. Like, you need to expect this, because this isn't easy and this is not for everybody. And I said that in our first podcast. This program also does not guarantee that you will be a truck driver when you're done. This program might make you realize you absolutely do not need to be a truck driver. Right, Monica? And there will be days you go home and you're like, am I really doing this? Or like, am I really cut out for this? And then I start talking about the hours, and I start talking about all the accountability and the responsibility that goes along with it. And some people, you can just see the look, they're like, and they just kind of go, oh boy. I've done that many times over the years where I'm like, oh boy, why am I doing this? And what it comes down to is, what do you love to do? When you get up in the morning, do you like going out the door to what you're doing, or do you hate it? Do you have anxiety? Does it make you feel sick? Does it make you wonder what you're doing with your life? I've never felt like that with trucking. There's been days where I've been out there on bad roads and I'm like questioning my life choices. But other than that, I've always loved everything to do with trucking, and my legacy is super important to me because I have a 16-year-old daughter, And I'm trying to show her that it does not matter what you do. You give it your all. And if at some point you decide you can't do it anymore, well, then you find something else to go give it your all. Yeah. So I wanted Monica most of all, because she was my first lady driver, to leave and be happy and feel secure that she could leave me and work safe and be good and make money. And she has a child too. So you need a little bit of a village and you need support. Women have different responsibilities. I'm not saying men and women are 100% different, but like, especially on the single parent aspect and mothers, there's just a different dynamic that you have with your child. And there's lots of single fathers out there too. This is not an easy industry to work in with your kid. If you let it consume you and you don't find your place and where you want to be in it, it can just like take over everything. So that's powerful. Yeah.
Yes. So true. And it's nice to see the relationship that's been established, the trust, the camaraderie. Like, you definitely knocked that goal out of the park. And I admire that and I value that, because that really feeds my overarching mission, is introducing leaders like yourself to industry. So I think that's really phenomenal. And then, well, Monica, I'm going to ask you the same type of question. And I know you are a leader in your space, and you may be quote unquote new to trucking, but that doesn't mean you're not a leader out the gate. And I can tell from your personality that you're confident, you're ambitious, and you're like, oh, I got this, get out of the way. So when you're navigating in your mind these jobs and you're thinking about where you're going to be when you do own your dump truck one day and stuff, are you thinking about it from a perspective of, I'm doing this for my family? Are you thinking I'm doing it because I want the success? Or what's kind of leading your leadership in that space?
Well, it's like I said, I've been self-employed for 15 years, and I would definitely want to keep on that self-employed track. I like to make my own schedule to be able, like you said, to be able to spend time with my husband and my child. And I don't want to, as much as I love to work and I want to work all the time, I need to also spend lots of time with my family and every chance I get. So that's why the end goal again would be to be self-employed and to be able to work around my own hours.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, that's awesome. So what is now that you are a professional driver, would you say you have a greater, the same, or more appreciation for professional drivers right now?
I did already have a great appreciation for a professional driver in the first place, but to be in the seat of a big rig and to be hauling, a 53-foot trailer behind you. A friend of mine let me drive his low bed, to have a 93-foot with an extension on the back, driving down the highway, being 10 feet wide. It's definitely puts everything in a different perspective compared to driving my own 1-ton diesels every day. You definitely get a different perspective of being inside of that big rig. And I'm very happy that I've been as observation and be as courteous to them as I have been, because there is nothing worse than people driving at you while you are clearly needing that space and they just keep coming at you for some reason. And like, we had a lady drive right up on the sidewalk to like get in between us and the stop sign instead of just stopping and knowing what was going on. Like, so yeah, like I definitely have even a bigger appreciation of them than I did in the first place. And like I said, I really thought I understood what they were going through before, but now that I've been in that seat, it's yeah, like they have to deal with a lot. And
Wild.
the other people are what you got to worry about.
Yes. I just can't believe when just general traffic is that, like, you can't tell me you're in that big of a rush. But wow. So,
Yeah.
but I appreciate it. Yikes. So 10 feet wide, 90 feet long.
Yeah, well, just a big low bed with the extension on the back, right? And just, it was quite the experience. It was nice of my friend to let me drive it too. And like I said, it's just all nice experiences. I would like to drive anything I can at this point. I'm very determined in anything. I feel like I can drive anything. I can feed cows in a tractor. If I can feed 600 head of cattle, I can do anything. I can drive this big tractor down the road. I can drive a trailer. I'm determined. So I feel like if I can get any opportunity to get in anything I can, I will.
Good. I really admire that, and I appreciate the passion. And it's nice to hear again your perspective going in and now. I think that's really cool. So appreciate that. And then Angela, also one of my favorite topics, obviously, is appreciating professional drivers. So knowing that you have the Caribou group as well, if you're comfortable name dropping, maybe just keep at first names. But do you want to just highlight again your advocacy and appreciation for professional drivers, and do anyone from the group stand out? Because there's a couple, I can't remember their. I'm terrible with names until I have a conversation, but some of the humor and some of the pictures, I'm just like, oh man. So, but yeah, what's your thoughts?
Colin Lawson, he's not going to care if I drop his name. He's an admin on my page. He's been driving truck his whole life. He's just become super awesome support to me. Those guys on that page, there's some that are like, they like to start a few hot topics. I'm not going to lie, I have a hard time not fueling them. Recently, the one about the ELDs has gotten a little hot and bothered, but I do understand everybody's perspective on everything. And I try to be neutral. Will White, he's also an admin, and Jason Chamberlain, who is native to the Williams Lake area. They are all amazing dudes. They just have been so supportive of me. I was in the brake check in Williams Lake brake check like 2 years ago in -30, and all my air suspension's frozen, flatter than a freaking pancake. And I'm like, seriously? Like, no, I need to figure this out. And I go to crawl under the trailer, and before I know it, I hear brakes come on, and I see boots coming across the parking lot, and I'm under my trailer, and all of a sudden Jason's right under there with me with a torch. I'm like, where did you come from? And he put it right on the spring brake valve, and whew, all of a sudden I had air, and away I went. But that's the kind of people that we have in this community. Our group is still like pretty small. Like, I think we're still under 1,000 people, and we've had that page going for a long time. The thing that I love about it is that it's like a support group. So when people start like really harassing and bullying each, I'm like, hey guys, like seriously, this is like not okay. If you're going to keep it up, then I don't give too many warnings. I'm just like, boot. And I haven't had to do that too many times, but they've all been supportive of Monica. And I think they've come to realize, like, and this is going to sound really horrible and egotistical, but I started that page. So if you don't like it, go to Twisted Truckers or Log Up or somewhere where there's like a couple thousand K members, and there's just like, it's a trash fire sometimes. It's an absolute trash fire. There's no regulation. We don't just do like funnies. There's tons of funnies. There's tons of support. There's tons of education. I've started trying to post more and more things to help people along. If they need resources, I have a lot of people contacting me about finding them jobs. Like somehow through that page, and not just truckers. I had a fellow contact me the other day, didn't even know. He's like, hey, I heard you're a good person to get a hold of. My kid's looking for a flagging position. Do you know anybody 100 mile? Huh, weirdly I did. So I'm like, there's a guy here in town that runs flagging crews all over the place. Contact him. I don't know if she got hired or not, but the thing is that's what I started it for, was because I was sick and tired of like the high school mentality in trucking. Like, oh, you're a chip hauler. Oh, you're a lumber hauler. Oh, you're a log truck driver. Like, there's this hierarchy. I think in some people's heads, there still is a hierarchy.
A little bit. Yeah.
And to some male truck drivers, we're still just going to be girls. That's all we'll ever be. So I instructed Monica, sometimes you just gotta smile and nod. Right, girl? I guarantee there's gonna be guys see her coming and they're gonna go, what is she doing here? She's so little, but she's got like more drive, more motivation than a lot of men that I've worked with. And I'm so proud of her.
So good. So good. So, no, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm anytime I'm at the group, so it's a Facebook group for those that are listening, I'm always just like, man, I like that. Like, it's just, yeah, I like the fact that people are speaking the language. They obviously know what you're talking about, but I appreciate that. So in regards to Caribou driving training or driver training, I'm sorry, where can people go if they're interested to learn more? Maybe they have a class 3, they need to get their class 1, they want to just get their class 1. Where do they go for that?
We do have a web page. It's cariboodrivertraining.com. And we also have a Facebook page. So Cariboo Driver Training on Facebook. And of course, you can look us up. We are listed in the Williams Lake area because we are located in Williams Lake, BC. Yeah, and soon we'll be branching out. We've got a contract with the district in Quesnel, so I'll be teaching bus drivers in July for 2 weeks.
Good job. Good.
Yeah, it's cool. There's all kinds of cool stuff happening. We've been networking with some schools in the north, so I just want to mention fundamental driver training in Quesnel, and also a friend of mine at Wilco Academy in Dawson that I hope to go meet in June when I go up there. So, and they're all people my age that I grew up with. Actually, all three of them are from Quesnel. We're all from Quesnel. So it's exciting. I like that I'm going from driver to driver trainer. I feel like it's like my calling in life. I really enjoy it, and I love coming into work every day.
Good. Yeah, and I'll make sure to include the links as well, so that way if people wanted to check out it, it's just clicking a button. So it's pretty easy. But yeah, honestly, Angela, Monica, super grateful that we were able to make this happen. This was I have a big goal list for podcasting. And as Angela knows, and Monica, as you can tell now, I'm sure, this was a big one for even my own journey, because I've been really involved from an advocacy standpoint for MELT. And I like hearing the conversations from training perspective, carriers perspective, but also new drivers coming into the industry. So having this moment, hearing your guys is just, you can tell your friends, you can tell that there's just a lot that's happened over the last 149-ish hours. I love it. And I'm just super grateful for the opportunity that we could all hop on, obviously, the podcast. We can dive into stuff, and I'm just super grateful. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your Thursday night to hop on with me. It means a lot.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely appreciate it. So, okay, well, we'll talk to you guys soon. And again, congratulations to both of you, because this is big milestones. And yeah, we'll, Angela, always down to do more. And Monica, honestly, this isn't, you don't have to tell me right now, but I know our listeners are going to say, yeah, you have to tell them right now, because I get like that. When you find what it is that you want to do with trucking, and if it's us three hopping back on in 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever the time frame is, to talk about, so what is next steps looks like, what, like, how are you doing, how are you enjoying it, what don't you like about industry, that kind of stuff. I'd love to do another one collectively, because I think your perspective and confidence could really showcase a lot for a lot of new people coming to industry. Make sure you pay attention to this and don't fall for this load of crap and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be down if that would work for everyone else. So.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And Angela, you can't get rid of me quite yet, so we're good.
Okay.
So, awesome. Okay, well, yeah, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you too.
Bye. Angela, Monica, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me on the Truck Focus podcast. I really value both of your journeys, and I think that you're able to share, or the advice that you're able to share, it was just incredible. And it's super exciting just to hear the camaraderie between you guys, as well as the pictures that you're painting in the training environment. And Monica, the fact that you received 10 jobs since taking MELT, I think is absolutely incredible. 10 offers. And the fact, Angela, that you can confidently boast about her experience, just super exciting. So again, I really appreciate that. And I highly recommend that you check out more about Cariboo Driver Training by visiting cariboodrivertraining.com. Of course, the link's in the show notes. Angela, Monica, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. I really appreciate it. So again, if this is the first time you've ever checked out the Truck Focus podcast, I just want to continue to welcome you to our community, to our dedicated listeners. Thank you so much again for your investment of time. Make sure that you like this episode, share it out, but also subscribe to the channel that you're listening to. As always, let's create a pivotal impact.